Right, here we go. All right, folks. Ina mana, ina waka, ina hau e whā e te iwi whānui tēnā koutou katoa. Ko ranganui te ihu tu ihu nei. Ko Papatuanuku e takoto aki nei. Ki te whare tēnā koe, ki te tūpuni tēnā koe, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome into session 3 of our workshops. We are recording today, so you won't be on the camera unless you speak, so it'll be me in the presentation, so don't panic there. If you want to ask any questions, drop them into the chat down the bottom right. I'm also taking notes with Gemini, and you'll get all these things shared with you later on as well. So let's crack in today. So we're jumping into today's session, which is week 3. So we're having a look at deep research. So deep research is a tool built into Gemini. And I've put here as your research assistant and resource hunter, which sounds really interesting. So we'll have a look at what it is, how it works, and I'll demo some stuff. I'll get you to jump in and try it out as well. And then we'll talk about a little bit how we can use the information once we have created our own deep research. So that's the plan for today. I will share these resources with us in the call and afterwards. So those will be available for you. So these slides, don't worry too much about them. You will get access to them after the call. So deep research, there's a couple of use cases on here. So it's in-depth reports about a subject you're planning to teach, or if you're doing any research, if you're doing any inquiry learning, any action research, then it can be super useful to use. It is also available for students. They can use this tool as well. Researchers for literature reviews, and also having a look at some analysis for best practices as well. So there's a couple of use cases for deep research. I'll just click this and show you the little promo video about it. So there is no sound. Don't panic if you can't hear anything. But this is basically how it's going to work. This is a look at how the process will run. When you are doing your own, you'll see it stepping through these parts of the process. Now, you notice down the bottom of this little video clip, it does say you get 10 uses per 30-day period. So there are 10 uses of this for free. So we are still 100% talking about no-cost things. If you're paying for a Gemini license, you get a lot more of these. But what we're looking at here is 10 free uses per month. So here's a sample prompt I've used with deep research. So it said, create me a report appropriate for a 16-year-old studying geography in New Zealand. The topic is the impacts of volcanic eruptions in New Zealand, the impacts on the land and the people. Give 5 New Zealand case studies. The reason for this was when I was teaching level 1 geography, this was our first term of work, basically in level 1 geography. So what I did was I got deep research to go and do all this resource finding for me. As you can see on the right hand side there, it brought back a nice little report around all that stuff. Another example was, please tell me how can people use Gemini AI in education in New Zealand, include references to Gemini Canvas, Gemini Gems, and deep research to support student learning and teachers saving time. So I went away, did a little research, brought me back the research you can see on the right hand side there. Now, I'm going to use this one as my example. So I'm just using Google Lens to grab that text. There we go. So I will grab that and show you how that works. Just bring someone in. There we go. Next one. This was one I did while I was actually on the ride home on the bus. So jumped onto my phone, opened Gemini on my phone, went in deep research and dropped in this one. Can you define a knowledge-rich curriculum and find examples of countries who have a knowledge-rich curriculum in their schools, and give positives and negatives of a knowledge-rich curriculum, and give examples of pedagogy that supports a knowledge-rich curriculum? The reason I did this one was I was listening to a Radio New Zealand article about the knowledge-rich curriculum, and there are a whole lot of kind of discussions around it. And I thought to myself, I'd love to know, really kind of dig deep into what this means and compare it to overseas uses of it. So you'll notice this prompt here does have a few levels of what I'm asking for. Defining it, examples where it's being used, positives and negatives, and examples of pedagogy. So those are all the things I wanted to find we're using deep research. Okay, so deep research will go out and do the work for you and bring you back a report that can then be used. So those are some examples of what I've used. Here again is a screenshot of me asking for that volcanic eruptions one and what came back. Now what comes back is a long text document. Now when you get that long text document back, you can go up here and you can click export, and you can export it out to docs. You can also click the create button. And when that create button drops down, you can turn that report into a web page, into an infographic, into a quiz, and also into an audio overview. And if you're familiar with Notebook LM, it's the same audio overviews you get inside of there. So this is the request on the left-hand side and the output on the right-hand side. I've got some sample prompts here that I'll come back to, but I'll add a few more to these before I share these slides out to you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to Gemini, and I'm going to share my Gemini tab. There we go. Now, when you're inside of Gemini, remember up on the top right now, there is actually, you'll see my school logo is beside my little user logo there. So there is my Google account logo, and you'll notice my school logo is sitting right beside that. That's a new feature in Gemini. It lets you know really quickly that you're using your school account, which is your nice, safe, secure one with all your data security. So if I jump down into the middle part of Gemini here, I've got deep research as a button there, or I've also got it under my tools there. So two places to find it, both do exactly the same thing. So if I click on deep research, you'll notice now it's got it highlighted in blue. Now I'm going to drop my prompt into there that I copied from the other page. So what I was asking it to do was to tell me how people can use Gemini AI in education in New Zealand, including a reference to Gemini Canvas, Gemini Gems, and deep research to support student learning and teachers saving time. So if this was something I was getting ready for a presentation, getting ready for some PD, I might think, I want to find all this information, but I don't want to spend 5 or 6 hours doing it. So I'm going to get deep research to go and do it for me. Now, down the bottom is a couple of new features that have only just launched today, in fact. So I can choose what I want to include in my deep research. Now, the top one will go out and do a web search. I can also include my Gmail, I can also include my Drive, and I can also include my Google Chat. So say I'm thinking about this one, which is about Gemini AI in education. I know I've got a whole lot of stuff in my Drive as well. So I could switch on Drive, and it's going to look at both of those places. So say I had a policy document, maybe I was looking at literacy in year 6, and I've got a whole lot of information already in my Drive. I can use both of these to search. Now, if I just want to find new stuff, I'm going to leave it just as search. Okay, so it's going to go out and search the internet. It's not going to look inside my Drive. So I'm going to leave this one just as a search. Now, there are also some files here. Now, say you had a PDF, for instance, of some big research document that you already had, you could actually upload this as well, and it will include it in that deep research. So this is a brand new update today. It's been sitting around waiting to drop out for a little while, so you are the first people to see it, which is quite exciting. So I'm going to do a deep research. I'm going to do it out on the web because I want new stuff, but I could also include stuff in my drive or uploaded files. So what I do is I'm going to go, yes, please, let's do that. So Gemini is going to have a little read of my request, and it's going to put together a research plan. So here's the plan. Now I'm going to click more. So what it's saying is, these are the 6 things I'm going to do. Then I'm going to analyze my results and I'm going to create a report. And it's ready in a few minutes. Now, a few minutes, I think that's a bit of a lie, Gemini. It's probably about 15 minutes or so. So I'm going to leave this going and come back to it. But what you can do here is I always read through the 6 things it says it's going to do, because it might say something about it's going to include this. And I could actually down here say, I want to edit that plan and I want to take some things out. So I can change that research plan here before I send deep research off to do the research. But I'm happy with that plan, so I'm just going to go start research. What it'll do is it will now start to go through that research plan. It's now going out to the internet and doing a whole pile of the research. So what you've got here is, you see up the top it says show thinking. Now, what happens is, you see it's starting to tell us what it's going to do. It's grabbed some researchers, some websites. So it's currently reading those websites for us. So it's doing quite a bit. Now, when you do your first few, you'll probably watch this trundle along through because it's quite interesting to watch. I'm now at the point where I just have to turn it off. Otherwise, I will sit here for the next 15 minutes just staring at it, watching its thinking in inverted commas. So there are the websites it's reading for me. So it says I've successfully gathered comprehensive definitions. So it's talking through its thinking, if you like, or its process. New Zealand policy and ethics, refining use cases for local context. The next research actions are this. Now I'm having a look at these websites. Now I'm looking at privacy, quantifying teacher time, connecting deep research to critical thinking, finalizing New Zealand localization, doing some more researching here, talks you through all the stuff it's done. So now you can see it's stepping through Canvas, it's stepping through deep research as it's researching itself, which is interesting. Now it's creating the final report. So what it'll do is it'll start to put together that final report for us and then bring it back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say to you, it sounds terrible, isn't it? What I'm going to do is, while this is working, think about something that you want to research. Now, it could be something you might want to do something around, around structured literacy or maths or the knowledge-rich curriculum, or you might want to research holiday destinations in Rome. Whatever it is, it's entirely up to you, because deep research will do all that good stuff for you. You could say, we're a family of 4 going to Fiji in July next year. Find me a 7-day activity plan for a really active family. It'll do that for you. Or you could stick with school-based things. So what you can think about is, have a think about what is something you would like deep research to go and find some information about. Say you're thinking the start of next year, you're doing a unit on photosynthesis. Maybe you want to go and hold a research around photosynthesis for someone who is 9 years old in New Zealand. Think about a question you'd like deep research to research for you. Jump into Gemini.
Deep research.
Go to a new chat up there, and then switch on deep research and give it a question and set it working. I'll give you 2 minutes to go and do that now, because now it's finished its report, and I'll come back and go through this report in a moment. So jump into your Gemini, think about a question you'd like deep research to go away and research for you, and we'll leave that going while I go through this information it's brought back. So the ones I shared previously are a report appropriate for a 16-year-old studying geography in New Zealand. The topic is the impacts of volcanic eruption in New Zealand, the impacts on the land and the people. And what I want you to do is give me 5 New Zealand case studies. The second one was that one I've just given it. How can people use Gemini AI in education in New Zealand? That could be as simple as you give it. The more complex your question, the more focused the report will be when it comes back. I've done this one. Can you define a knowledge-rich curriculum and find examples of countries who have a knowledge-rich curriculum? You might want to do that one. Now, if I quickly jump into, let me see this, here we go. I also have a site here that I will share with you via the chat. Let's do that now. So in the chat, I'm just popping in a link to a Google site, and that Google site has some ideas. So the Google site looks like this one, and it has some examples I've used. So it has, when I was teaching IB geography, I wanted to have a look at a report on methods of seawall construction in New Zealand, give me an analysis of where it's affected and where it's been not effective. Now you notice my requests are quite specific, because the more specific you can give deep research, the better the report that comes back. And I've also noticed that I've also added, this is for a high school geography classroom. Next one I did was, this was a question for the IB diploma. Find me information around cultural diffusion for IB geography. This is for a 16-year-old international baccalaureate student. So I'm giving it that, what sort of student or what sort of person am I looking for? The other one is the volcano case study I've done there. And this is the link to this site is in the chat. So if you want to have a look at these to give you some ideas, you definitely can. I did another one where I was asking about a report on the best practices for security within a New Zealand school using Google for Education. So I wanted to know, what should I be doing? All the settings inside my school account. You'll notice there I've also said I'm not super technical, so please keep the language easy to understand and provide me links to where I can make these changes in my admin console. So it actually produced me a whole report on what I can do settings-wise in my school. We have the Gemini for Education one there. That's the one I'm currently doing. And the last one there that's up there is one where I was having a conversation with a bunch of teachers, and one of them was sharing some research he was doing on deficit theory in education. So what is the report on deficit theory in education and its impact on teaching and learning? So that was that was a really grunty one. It's a very, very interesting one to read. So if you're thinking about, you've got some action research you're currently doing, if there is a discussion around pedagogy, drop it into deep research and get it to go out and do some work for you. You want to look at deep research on the history of the Auckland container terminals, you can do that. Wellington Airport, anything you want. So deep research will go and do all the work for you. Okay, so drop your research into Gemini, and I'm going to go back to my one and we'll have a look at what's come back. Oh, that's squeezed it a little bit. Let me just make it a little bit bigger. Oh, reach it now. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit wider. There we go. So this has, so I've just said start research, complete the research. Feel free to ask me follow-up questions or request changes. Now, as I go through this, I can ask it to refine the research. Now, that's not a new deep research. That's just refining what's already there. Okay. Now, I might have a look at this, and I've asked about New Zealand specific information. I might see that one of the sources is a UK source. So I can go in here, I go, can you remove that source and recreate it? And it'll remove that source and rewrite it for me. So it will refine what it's currently done for me. But let's have a look at this. So we've got the framework, contextualizing Gemini AI in New Zealand. Any regulatory assurance and ethical deployment at Waihi Matua. Data governance, upholding accountability and human oversight, alignment with the New Zealand curriculum, supporting Te Mate Aho and key competencies. Now you'll notice also that it has some little drop downs here where I can actually click that and I can go out to where it found this information. So if I'm thinking, actually, I'd love to know a bit more about that, I can actually jump out to these resources and have a look. Integration of the key competencies, the localized content. Then we're thinking about strategic deployment for teacher efficiency. Rapid lesson planning, assessment generation, I'm having a shocker on that one. I'll leave that word. Operationalizing administrative savings with custom Gemini gems. Whew, that was a big one this time of the afternoon. Differentiated instruction administrated. Then you'll notice it often does this for some of these big questions is, here's the feature, here's the benefit, here's the application, and here's some estimated time savings. So it's actually creating a table of data as well. Then we've got deep research for educator resource curation, so what we're doing today. Then we've got student learning, personalization, gems for personalized learning coaches. Scrolling down, Gemini Canvas. Then we're thinking about how to model structured inquiry. So you notice it's bringing back a lot of stuff. Now, because I gave it a really specific set of instructions, it's brought me back some really nice stuff. Professional development strategy. Realize the full AI dividend. Look at that. That's an interesting one. Bring the person in. So this is talking about reported time savings of an average of 2.3 hours per week in schools with AI policies. Don't know where it got that from, but we can find out. So if we drop that down, here we go. So the Walton Family Foundation has some information about that. So we can find out where this information came from. Focus training, recommendations for institutional policy, policy alignment. Then we have some policy checklists, conclusions, strategic recommendations for Aotearoa, for teacher efficiency for student learning. So that was the entire report that it brought back. And it was quite a quick one. About 5 minutes or so it's done that. Now, this bit down here shows us the sources that were used. So these are all the sources it read. Sorry, these are all the sources it used. If we look down below, there are some sources it read but didn't use. So it might have read them and go, you know what, that's not applicable, so I'm going to not use those. So we can have a look at these. And it's always a really good idea when you get to the end of the report to have a look through the sources. Because I can scan these, and if there's any I don't like, I can actually say, can you take it out? Now, if I'm having a look at, so there's one here, which is the Walton Family Foundation. Now, if I think to myself, I'd love to know a bit more about that, what I can actually do is click on that link, and it will jump me out to where it found that information. So I can have a look at that information. If I think it's no good, I can go back and say, can you take that source out? Okay, so you can have a bit of an iterative process. Now, this looks like it's quite a good research report. It's quite a long one. I might want to dig a bit more into it. So it's actually, let's talk about it, national survey. So if it's a national survey done with Gallup, pretty happy to have that in my sources. So if I go back to my source, there's nothing really in this that I need to take out. I notice there is a reference here to School AI. Now that may be because it's got some of the references to time savings, but I did ask specifically for Google AI, not for School AI, so I might want to take that out. Or I notice it's got AI inside of Canvas, so it might have got confused with Canvas, the teaching tool, versus Canvas inside of Gemini. So I can go through these and I can edit these sources. But I'm happy with that. Up the top here, drop it down. I can export it straight to Docs. So if I click Export to Docs, what it will do is it will put it into a Google Doc for me. Over here. Jump into here. So what it's doing is it's grabbing all that research and dropping it into a Google Doc for me. So there it is. And I've now got that Google Doc, which is all my research. And if I'm using Notebook LM, I'll usually drop that into Notebook LM as a source. So use deep research to create the resources, drop it in a Notebook LM to then use it. Really nice way to put those two tools together. Now, there is a little shortcut to that when I talk about Notebook LM, but we'll leave that till next time. Oh, what a tease. So let's go back to, so this is back inside of deep research. So that's our share and export. We can just copy the contents as well if we want to just copy or paste, but exporting to docs is heaps easier. Now, the next little piece to look at is our create. So if I drop down the create, it gives us a whole lot of things we can now turn this report into. So that is a lot of dense text. And if I was going to introduce that to my staff, to my department, to my syndicate, probably wouldn't lead with that massive text dense report. So what I might do is I might go, can you make that into an infographic for me? And what it will do is it will now turn that resource into an infographic, which is a really nice way to lead into presenting some of this information. So we'll just wait for that to create. So it's visualizing the narrative. Fantastic. Mapping the visuals. Let it do its thing. Now you notice also that I'm currently using down the bottom left here the 2.5 Flash model. So there's Flash and Pro. So you don't need to be using Pro for this. Flash is the one we use all the time. So here it is now creating that infographic. It creates it on the left-hand side here in that box. So we can actually go back through here. We can scroll up and we can go back to our report if we want. Or once this is created, we can jump back into that infographic. So that'll create that over on the right-hand side in just a moment. It'll do its thing. So here we are now. So this is Gemini in Aotearoa New Zealand, the Modern Classroom Challenge, personalization learning, teacher time. So this has grabbed all kind of the highlights it thinks about. Okay. Gemini for Education Toolkit. So that's a nice little overview of all that information. Now, if I wanted to include something specific around pedagogy, I could drop down the bottom here, say, can you recreate that and include this? And it will remake my infographic for me, and it will then create the stuff that we want. Okay. So I've done that. If I want to go back to my report, I just go back up here and I click open the report. It'll jump me back to the report. So we can go through those things. We want to then turn that into a web page, we can do that. So if I go web page, it'll do exactly the same process, create a web page that we can actually export and publish. You could publish that onto your Google site. You could put it into a blog post. You could put it into, if you're using a blogging platform, you can do that. Anywhere that will take HTML code and website, you can drop it in there. So I'll just let that create this. So it's now putting together the structure. You'll notice on the right hand, on the right hand side, once it's completed that, it will turn it into a web page for us. So while we're waiting for it to do that web page, if you want to jump back into your deep research and see what's there, jump into it and turn that into an infographic and have a little look at that as an overview. I'll give you 2 minutes to jump into there and have a look at your deep research and turn that into an infographic while we're waiting for this to come back. So once you're in your research, you will have that report created. Have a look at the report. Go up to that right-hand side create button. Let me jump through that one. So while we're not there, up to that create button, drop it down and turn your research into an infographic to have a look at. This is the screenshot you got on the screen here. I just had my Gemini turned to dark mode, which is why it has that black background. Post-op reference. So what you can see here is I have asked it to turn it into a web page, and you'll notice up the top, so it looks similar to that infographic, but you'll notice we've also got valuable time saving for Gemini with Gemini, so based on some of that research. Supporting deeper learning for Ākonga, so it's bringing in the language of the report, the Gemini Education Toolkit, which was similar from that infographic. But up the top here, we've actually got a couple of links. So for Kaiako there, so we can jump down, for Akonga down the bottom there, and then the toolkit itself. So it actually turns it into a clickable website that you've got in there. Now with that website, if you click on the code button, just like when we're in Canvas, it gives you the code, which you can then use to paste wherever you want to take that website with you if you want to share that as a site. I'll go back to our preview. Okay, now if we want to go back to our report, I can just click back to open, and it's going to go back to our report. So deep research is one of those things where it will go out and do the work for you. There are also, let's have a quick look at the questions. So Richard asked, could the results be put straight into a web page or Google site? Yeah, so Richard, if you are using a create here, you'll notice with the share and export, that is purely a text document. Once you have created your infographic, you'll notice that it changes, and up the top there, it actually gives you the code. So yes, those could be put direct into a web page or Google site. Also, the web page down there, same deal. If you have that ability to go between code and preview, yes, you can totally do that. Kim was asking, what if you don't have an infographic under create? Interesting. I would check, first thing I would check is that you're using 2.5 Flash. Just make sure you're not on Pro. But you should, you should then, so try changing, make sure you're on Flash, and then when you're on, you've got to be back on your report. And your report is where that create should have the infographic in it. That's interesting. So have a little try with that, Kim, and just let me know if that works. Now, also on your create there, you've got, so you can turn it into a quiz, you can turn it into flashcards, but you can also turn it into an audio overview. And for those of you who are familiar with Notebook LM or Illuminate, same thing in there. So you've actually got a lot of ways to change that from a research report into lots of different methods of getting that information. So if you are creating some research for a professional development, for instance, you've got a lot of different options to share with your team. Now, I'll probably grab that report, as I said, chuck in Notebook LM, and you can create things in there as well. Kim, that's really interesting. Maybe flick me an email and I'll see if I can find some information on that, because you should definitely have that as an option. Real strange. No, about the only other thing I could think of, Kim, is to make sure that you are using your school account, because it should, this is a school account I'm using, so you should have that option. That's really strange. Have a look at that. If you haven't got it, just flick me an email. I can follow it up for you as well. Yes to school and 2.5. Interesting. Okay. Just flick me a quick email, Kim, and I will see if I can find out some info about that. So, look, folks, that is a look at deep research. The things I will share with you is I will share the presentation with you. I will add that to our calendar. Also, I'll share the notes from Gemini. And also, I will share the recording. Now, the recording, what I'll do is I'll convert it into a YouTube recording, and I'll drop that back onto the calendar soon. That way you don't have to request access to the recording, and you can just share that recording as well. So hopefully by later tonight, I will have the recording. We have the Gemini notes on here as well, and I'll share those slides with you, which have those sample quests for you. Ian, go ahead. Just put his hand up. Mistake. Might have been a thumb, sweet ass. I'll come back to that one, Richard. Yeah, Ian, go ahead.
Yeah, is it possible to get hold of last week's recording and notes?
Yep, Ian, if you go back to last week's calendar invitation, it should be on there. I've updated that with notes in the recording. Yeah, if you can't see them, just flick me an email. But yeah, they should be on last week's calendar invitation.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve.
Perfect. Can you print the infographic? Yes, you should be able to. Great question, Mark. Let me have a look. Let me go back to my infographic. Come on, infographic. That's the report. That's the infographic. Let me just see what's under our share. It's a copy. No, good question. Is there a print? There is a print there. Yeah, it's a good question, Mark. Yeah, it does send the code, not the infographic. That's a really good point. I just tried a quick print and it's only given me the top part of that. Let me just think. I would probably, how would I do it? I would probably drop the code into a site and see if I can print it there. Let me try if I do it down here. Yeah, no, so I'm only getting, when I try and do that print, I'm only getting the header. Interesting. Okay. Good, very good question. With flashcards, yeah, good call. Let me just try something. So if I grab my code, I'm going to do my cheeky copy the code, and then I'm going to jump back into my Google site. Let me try this. So I'll jump into a quick Google site. I'm going to embed that code just like we do with Canvas. It's that. Let's try that. So I can insert that infographic into a Google site. There we go. Let's expand that all out. It's a long infographic. It's a very long infographic. Okay, there we go. So I've just pasted that into my Google site. Now, what about if I go preview my site? So there we are. And then, right, so if I drop it into a Google site and then I do a print in there, it will print the infographic. So what I've done is I have dropped that into a Google site. I've just gone into the middle here. I've gone into my little gray area. I clicked on that. You can't see it because I'm not sharing the whole window. It's popped up a little print dialog. I've hit print, and it's then allowed me to go and choose to print that infographic from a Google site, not from Canvas itself. Okay. So what I did there was, where am I? I'm there. Let's go back. So I went and I turned on my code. I clicked down in here. I did a Control A on my Chromebook, then a Control C, or a Option Command A on the MacBook, and then Windows A. And I'm trying to remember what I used to use other computers. So basically, Control A, copy all. Did a Control C for a copy over to my Google site. And there, on my Google site, I went up to my embed, hit the embed, go embed code, enter there, paste. This is being recorded so you can slow it down and go back over it as well. Once I've done my paste, go next, and then just go insert. That then drops that into my Google site there. Okay. Now it could be a blogger, it could be an EduBlogs, it could be whatever takes HTML code, you can post it in there. Then from in here, I can then print that, okay, if I want to print that, or wherever I happen to share it out to, okay? So also in a Google site, you could embed the audio overview. You could embed the Google Doc as well into 3 different pages. So it's a really nice way to share all that info. Okay, so that was using inside of the code is where you get that. And that last little bit there that we created is our audio overview. So if I click on that, it's a 5-minute overview.
So for this deep dive, we're looking at something pretty specific.
Very specific. We're talking Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Right, and how their education system is making a really calculated move to...
That's what our Māori words trip up those American hosts of ours at the moment until we can get that slightly updated. But yeah, that you have got your audio overview in there. 3 dots means you can download that audio overview as well. Either chuck it on your phone, have a listen to it, share it with your team, drop it into your Google site. So lots of different ways to use that as well. You've also got your share and export there where you can send it out. So a couple of different ways for you to use it. Listen there. If something legal comes up, you can drop it in. You can give it a thumbs up and a thumbs down as well. And if you wanted to redo it, you can redo it. So that's a look at dropping in our request. So our very first request up there was how people can use Gemini AI in education in New Zealand, reference to Gemini Canvas, Gemini Gems, and deep research to support student learning and teachers saving time. Then it came back with those really focused responses, gave me what it was going to do, came back with our report first of all. Once we're in the report, we can go to the share and export, or we can go to the create. Oh, and then it's got a contents set. That's just appeared right now. There you go. So it's even got a clickable contents page. That's new today as well. Fantastic. All these new things dropping out for me. So I've got a share and export, and we've got our create. Okay, so does it research only what is freely available? Yes, Monique, that's correct. So it does only access what is freely available. It won't break paywalls. It will respect all those sorts of things. It won't do anything that's behind a password protected. So yes, it's on the freely available web. If you are using the deep research and you want to include things from your drive, you can do that at the beginning, or you can add them from your drive as well. You can do a deep research just inside your drive. Now it will only look for things that are shared with you as well. So it won't look for anything in someone else's drive. It won't look across your SLT drive. So only what's shared with you. Okay. So that's a look at deep research. We are right at 4 o'clock, so I've done pretty well managing to keep that one down to 45 minutes. One of my absolute favorite tools at the moment. Does save you all that grunt work and the hours of sitting with your laptop on your knee doing all that research. So set it off to do that first big pass. Make your request as focused as you can. Otherwise, what you get back won't be as great. That's one of the things you find. Remembering you get 10 of these free per month. So don't go mad tonight and do 9 and then only have 1 more for the rest of the month. So you do get 10 free per month per account. So if you happen to have a Gmail account, you can do 10 in there as well. So that's how you use this tool inside of Gemini. So I will have to jump out, folks. I'm getting kicked out of my room, but I'm just going to jump over to the other user I've got over here, and I will rejoin our call in just a moment if you've got any questions. So I'll see you in just a moment.